Welcome back to the Whatnauts Reactor Core number 132. We're here to talk about the finale of Loki Season 2. I'm super excited. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how's it going?
Yes. I'm doing well. It's been an exciting week of content.
Yeah. It's like Marvel madness abounds because we have this and we have the Marvels. Which we are also going to be recording a spoiler cast on, so keep an eye out for that. I guess they should be out at the same time, so they'll both be on the feed at the same time. So, yeah, Loki Season 2, though. Here we are. I guess I feel like this show felt longer than it actually was. Does that make sense?
Centuries longer.
I know that I'm also the one to usually complain of like, it's only 6 episodes. It's so short. Like, and you'll probably hear me say that on this episode. But I don't know. I think looking back in hindsight, if you take all like the first 2 seasons of Loki together, felt good. It felt good.
Yeah. Really well executed. I was surprised how this wrapped up. I don't think anybody saw this ending coming. And I like that if this is the last we ever see of this character and this world, that's a very fitting ending.
Yeah.
But it's open enough for more. I think it's really well structured that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. 14 years of Loki is what Tom Hiddleston was saying.
Gee whiz.
14 years. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, if this is kind of the last we see of the character, I think this was a phenomenal send-off. Not really what I was thinking going into season 2, not what I was expecting. I think we were even being like, well, I guess we haven't heard if season 3 is happening or not. And now it looks like season 3 probably won't be happening, but that was in the plan. Like they never planned for a season 3 to happen. And I don't think that's for lack of success, because this has obviously been a huge hit.
Or maybe it could transform. Maybe this is the series finale of Loki, but we could have the TVA series in the future.
Right. Yeah. Who knows? But I had a blast with Loki Season 2. We are here more specifically to talk about the final 2 episodes. But I'm sure, as you just saw, we'll kind of be talking about the whole thing a little bit here and there. So let's start with episode 5. Melissa, we pick up this episode not really knowing what was going to happen from the end of episode 4, because there was that big wave of like time radiation stuff. The screen went white, cut to credits. We're like, uh-oh, that feels like a season finale in and of itself. But we pick right back up where we started. The light kind of fades away, and we're back with Loki here. What did you think of episode 5?
It was so eerie walking around a deserted TVA. I like that we got that at multiple points in this season. We really lived in the TVA this season. With him at the end of episode 1 trying to prune himself walking through the TVA, and it's like disaster mode with the alarms blaring, and now him walking in on himself reading a book, just lonely, saying hello to himself.
Yeah, that stuff.
I liked how unnerving
creepy.
this season got to be at different points, both very sweet and very strange.
Absolutely. We do get a bit of these little time loops happening in episode 5. You mentioned the one with Loki, which I thought was fantastic. But then as the episode progresses, we get to see a number of these characters that we've seen over the course of this show in what is or would have been or what is one of their lives. That they have on a regular timeline and not at the TVA. We finally get to see Mobius with his jet skis and his Sea-Doos, and we get to see day 15 being a doctor, which was fantastic.
I like that a lot.
But even with Mobius, we do get to see this kind of time loop thing happen with him, where he eventually gets to then look on his life and be like, you know what? He had a good life, but it's not me.
He did,
right? The yard could use some work, maybe. But
I loved seeing him working at the store, and his manager's like, your son is calling. And then, no, your other son is calling. He just has these two rowdy boys who won't leave him alone. I think that's a fun setup. I love to see Casey breaking out of Alcatraz. I love that's the first one you start with. That's a very fun twist. I like that echoes the DB Cooper scene from season 1.
Absolutely. Unsolved mystery. Yeah,
B-15 as a doctor makes a lot of sense. I think I'm really happy they spent this season with a more emotional B-15 who's on your side, whereas she was mostly this antagonistic hunter for a good part of season 1. I like getting to see more sides of her.
Yeah, because episode 1 of this season really did start with, like, she had learned the lie, right? Like, the wool had been lifted, and she's no longer kind of going through the, like, figuring out stage. She is on the side of, like, no, these are people's lives. What we've been doing was wrong. We need to change. And so, yeah, by the end of this, she's like all in on, like, hey, I'll help you out however you need. She's kinder, she's caring. And yeah, she is more emotional. There is, I think it was also earlier on when they catch General Docs, or whatever her position was, when they were first starting to bomb all the timelines, and she's looking at the monitor being like, those were people. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, good contrast. And like when she's breaking out of her shell, yeah, she does become much more caring for people, and then seeing her as a doctor is like, oh, okay, yeah, this does make sense in an interesting way. If you had told me that last season, I would have been like, no, are you kidding? But yeah, makes a lot of sense now that we see her here. And she seemed like she was a fantastic doctor. So
yeah, I liked seeing the tough love aspect from her, where she's like, "Don't climb trees. I'm gonna take up all this space on your cast, and your friends can't draw like hearts and stars on it. There's a warning for you. Don't climb trees." But also, I am gentle, and I am your friend.
Yeah.
And then seeing OB as this.
Well, just one more thing on her. Apparently, she is a character from the comics. I saw that, familiar with her character, but something with the powers of being able to tell a lie. That's kind of all I know about her, but that's it. So good stuff there. You were about to mention OB.
The struggling science fiction writer trying to plant and then buy his own book in local bookstores.
Right.
Living in this abandoned laboratory. I don't understand what the set is, but I do really like it. That it has been one of the strongest aspects of this series. Is just tremendous sets.
Yeah.
And tremendous characters to fill them.
It's an interesting mystery for the show what that building is, because when they do get the band all together, and one of them is like, hey, I'm gonna go out and like get some food, or I need to go talk to my boys, or something like that. He's like, oh, there's nothing around for miles. We're isolated here in the middle of the desert. And it's just kind of odd because it looks almost like what kind of building is this exactly? It almost looks like a mail room, but it's not. But then it's also the exact same room that he's in the TVA. So it just like different decor with a like no paint job. It like so it's did they build the TVA right there and then move it out of time? Like what happened with that?
I don't know. Or did he just
it's an interesting
set it up
mystery.
the same way again?
Yeah.
It made me think about how my dad's got this workshop in the garage, and he found a photo of his dad's workshop in his garage, and it is the exact same layout. Like, not even consciously doing it. He just set up the same pegboards and tool stands all over the place.
That's great, though. Yeah, I mean, it absolutely could be a case of like I just have a nostalgia for a room like this, and it looks exactly the same. But yeah, I thought OB seeing him not in the TVA was interesting too, because he's a science fiction writer who also has a degree, if not multiple degrees, in science. Right. There is a bit. I don't remember if it was in episode 5 or if this was in episode 6 here. But Loki ends up meeting up with him and is like, "You're a writer." Oh, and he's kind of disappointed at that. And then like a second later, he's like, "Yeah, it's just for like in between gigs. I have a degree in some big science thing." He goes, "Oh, you're a scientist too?" And he's happy, like, "Oh, you can build my device. Good. Sweet, thank you. You're actually helpful. You're not just speaking nonsense and sci-fi gobbledygook." But it turns out that it is not really the sciencey stuff that helps him. It is. He ends up making a temp pad, but he is like, it's less about the science. The whole thing that's happening here is about the fiction. Like, why is all of this happening? And that kind of sets low-key thinking here of like, yeah, why is like what is the purpose of all of this here? Which is, I think, a good question to ask, considering the Loki season 1, episode 1 title was Glorious Purpose, and the finale was also titled Glorious Purpose. So just what is the purpose of all of this here? And Loki has to figure out his purpose,
which is friends.
Yeah,
purpose is friends. Love a good purpose is friends story. I think they did a great job.
Friends we made along the way. What is purpose? I think friends endearing, right?
I think this season did a great job of deepening the characters we already had, introducing OB, making you feel like he was always there. He really fits in, and making all these characters really a team. Like, you never saw like just Casey working on anything by himself. Like, everybody is always in the same room together. They're trying to find each other. They're trying to work together. I really appreciated the establishment of an entire squad here. Right, which is one of the most comic book things of all. These assorted people must form squad.
Yeah, it takes them a little bit to get the whole team together, but they finally do. And kind of even in that moment, their plan doesn't really work. Which is I was kind of concerned at the end of episode 4 of like, how are they going to end this? Are they going to stick the landing? Right. And then here at the end of episode 5, their kind of plan to get the group back together, because they all have a certain temporal aura that could help them get back to a point in the past, in space and time, where the TVA still existed, where they could still make changes and stuff like that. And it doesn't work. Everything keeps spaghettifying. It just, similar to when Thanos snapped, they're just not turning to dust. They're turning into spaghetti. And it's horrifying. Like, we have another one of those moments where everyone is realizing like what's happening.
Yeah.
And the most affecting one is B-15 just being like, oh no, like, and just like, man. And then to see Sylvie like left there all by herself, and she just be like the last living thing there is just, it's just, oh man, this is kind of wild. But despite their plan not really working, we do get one triumph in that Loki has figured out how to control his time slipping. He can now kind of travel in space and time however he wants, which is an interesting power. That's super strong. But that is also kind of what helps them to figure everything out here, because then he can spend all this time like going back in time trying to figure out all of the, like, okay, how do we make this work here? How do we fix things? Which I
feel
guess
like
kind of
this
moves on. Yeah.
This series finale of Loki was like Loki looked at the history of Doctor Strange, from his movie to Infinity War to that one episode of What If, and was like, cracks knuckles, hold my mead, watch me do all of that compressed into 50 minutes. Because he does the thing where he loops himself over and over and over again, trying to find a solution, where hearing He Who Remains say, see you soon, over and over again, is very much a Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Right.
He has to spend centuries sinking himself into knowledge of this new topic. He has to go through all these loops trying to save the life of this woman he loves, because he's like, the answer can't just be that she dies. I don't accept that.
Yeah. Even like it is partly about his love for Sylvie, but it's also partly not. I feel like it is.
There's less of that in this season than you would think coming off of season 1.
Yes, exactly. I wonder if they just thought it was weird that he's in love with himself here, but
I know not everybody was super fond of it in season 1. I liked it.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping for a little more this season.
Yeah, my thoughts were like, it's weirdly brilliant because he's so egotistical that of course he's in love with himself, right? But they really downplay that they are the same person in this season, or just a variant of one another. Because I remember seeing a lot of discourse online of like, well, how come Sylvie can like keep all of her memories and Loki is the only other person that got to keep his? It's like, well, they're the same person. You realize that, right? But yeah, they downplay that a lot here, and it's a lot less of this. I'm here to save you because I love you. Why won't you accept that? And more of, sure, I loved you and I would like to save you, but I have a much more platonic love for you now, and also I think we fucked up.
Yes.
So let's maybe not destroy the universe so that we can at least maybe still be friends, finger guns, right? And yeah, it felt a lot more like that, especially with those couple moments where He Who Remains then pauses time and then just kind of gets rid of Sylvie. And I
Where
don't know
does she
what
go?
a better word. Yeah, like, is she teleported to another room? Is she
exactly
not in that plane of existence anymore? Did he kill her in that instance, knowing that he would go back and do it again? Who knows? I
really wanted the reverse shot that was just like her frozen still in just like the next room over in the Citadel, where like Miss Minutes is. He's like, I don't remember. She likes that burger place. I'll put her there. Which one is it? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, but it does kind of culminate in a couple of these conversations with He Who Remains, um, who's just kind of like, hey, dude, you're not even halfway there. Like, you haven't figured it out yet. To which Loki then surprises him and is like, actually, this isn't the first time we've had this conversation. He goes, oh, here we go. Right. Like, now we can talk. Now we can get down to business here. What did you think of them kind of bringing back this set piece and reintroducing He Who Remains and having that be a big part of the finale here?
I liked it. That is a gorgeous set. I am happy we got to spend more time there. That finale did mean so much when it happened. It was kind of nice to revisit that, to have it retain that sense of importance through to this finale in season 2, because that really is the nexus point where everything changed. And I appreciate Loki's efforts to try and talk Sylvie out of this, trying to get He Who Remains to fight back. Like, what is the solution here? How do I find my way out of this? Right. And I love that he comes down to the Captain Kirk maneuver of, if I can't win the Kobayashi Maru, I'm going to reprogram the Kobayashi Maru. So it's no longer a no-win situation.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because as Loki, I mean, ultimately what he decides is like, I will replace He Who Remains, but you're right. He does kind of reprogram it into, like, he puts his own magic into all of these strands of timelines, and something that I don't think I thought about at the end of season 1, because we took the death of He Who Remains to be like, this is the point where the multiverse kind of comes into existence as the sacred timeline splits apart and all of that stuff. But that's not, like, hindsight is 2020. That's not exactly how it happened, right? Because technically, wouldn't this be taking place at the same time of season 1's finale, which took place then before, like, Spider-Man, Far From Home, like all of that stuff. So the reason the multiverse exists and has been shattered, or the reason all of these, like, alternate universes, be it Spider-Man or X-Men or who knows what, are kind of leaking in or seeping in, is because of Loki and his mischievous ways. He's now the god of stories, right? And can be like, yeah, why not? Let's get Chuck in there. Good old Professor X. Let's put him in there. Spaghettification, yeah. Mr. Fantastic, have a fantastic time with that. You're getting spaghettified, right? It turned out to be him, and I guess I didn't think about that. I don't think any of us predicted that like, hey, in this timey-wimey time travel story, we could still revisit this moment, and the reason for the multiverse existing could change. And yeah, I just think that's neat. Right? I don't know. It's just like, Loki's the one at the center of it all, holding all these stories together. And then, without saying it, we're like, what if we take this loom and we make it the tree of life, right? And it is Yggdrasil, or however you say it.
I really like that imagery.
Let's make everything vertical now.
Yeah, I think the MCU has become very good at establishing its visual language, and you don't need to be told what's happening. It can rely entirely on, like, visuals and feeling, and you know who the character is and what his motivation is and what the stakes are. And if he already sank centuries into learning, like, physics or whatever,
right? Yeah,
you can see how he would now say, well, I'll just go away into this weird isolation for eternity for knowing that my friends are okay. And it seems like he can watch them. So, like, if the way the TVA is now, you like go into Obi's office, you go into the loom room and you look at the room. You go to the loom observation deck. I imagine you can still go there now and like look at this world tree. And you're like,
Yeah.
I can't see him, but I know Loki's in there. And he can't like see me, but he's got all these vines in his hands. He must have I imagine he's some way to like look in on what's happening.
I mean, he
perhaps
does
not
know
unlike
how
a watcher.
Right. I mean, he does know how to like create copies of himself and put them out there in the world. Of course, there was also the theory of like, well, Thanos didn't actually kill him. If you look at that rock in the background behind him, there's this figure kind of that looks vaguely like Loki, maybe if you squint. So there's stuff like that. I think with some other things that have been building up in the MCU slowly but surely. I mean, I guess we did all see a version of him already in season 1, but Kid Loki is out there.
Yeah.
Right. You know, if the MCU does some kind of Young Avengers thing, then I could see a version of Loki. There could be a variant of him that we see. There's plenty of ways that he can still be there and help and who knows what. But I kind of like this, that he's just, there's a little bit of mischief at the center of the universe, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it is a fitting ending. It's very sweet. It's this ultimate self-sacrifice, but still also this sense of presence and connection. Mm-hmm. It's the sort of thing where you're like, from a larger scale, maybe there is a way out of this. Maybe we will get to see this Loki again years in the future in some other movie. This doesn't seem like it is a definite end if they don't want it to be. If he found his way in, maybe he can find his way out again.
Yeah. Or who knows?
I found this
Sylvie from here on out.
We'll take turns.
Right? Yeah.
We'll alter millennia.
Yeah, absolutely.
A very fitting ending. I was really satisfied with this.
I was too, and that I think was my biggest concern, is if they would stick the landing or not. And I think they did. I think they stuck the landing. I don't think it's without its problems. I still think 6 episodes was too short for like a season. Like if you take this season by itself, I think 6 episodes was too short. I could have used 2 more episodes. It's just to get a little bit more of a sense of who these characters were on their own timelines. Just to sit and be in that world a little bit longer, right? But like I said, in context of season 1 and 2 combined, I think they tell a really, really good story. And the things that they do end up kind of glossing over or stuff like that, I think they do it with purpose. And I think it like, it's not like I'm bored with what I am seeing on screen or I'm disinterested. Like I'm obviously fascinated and be like, this is awesome stuff. But yeah, like like they cut it down to a really, really good story, if that makes sense. Which is not a bad thing. My complaint is like, you guys did a good job. I want to be in this world more.
Yes.
And also like not necessarily more after the events of this story, but like I wanted to know more details about what was happening within the things that you told me. So good stuff. I thought this was a blast. I was very impressed. It's interesting because I felt the ending of this, especially those scenes of Loki grabbing all of these threads, like walking up to his throne, the threads like slowly turning into his cape and his arms and stuff like that, was operatic.
Yeah.
felt Shakespearean in a way that I in the past have tended to stay away from Thor comics in general because of the these and the thous and the it's Shakespearean and it's Old English and this and that. And I have read a lot of Thor comics, but not all that much. And that is one of my main reasons. It's like, I don't like high fantasy, all the these and the thous and the Old English stuff. I just don't want to deal with that much. And I feel like this ending almost touched on some of the most epic things that you could get from those kinds of stories. So I was impressed that they managed to touch on that kind of stuff, and for me to be like, I like this.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It did a lot of things. I do want to shout out the beginning of episode 6, where they play a fifth of Beethoven, which is a very good needle drop for this segment. And Loki's going through time over and over and over again for centuries. And the most remarkable thing to me is that he remains so polite. Every time he has to run his friends through, nope, we got to get him down the gangplank faster. Do not put down the device. It will just roll away. You can hear that he's exasperated, but there is still a
you're
coldness.
My friend. I can't be mean to you. I can't hand this to you, kick you out the door, hope it works, and just be like, God fucking damn it, God, right?
Right. I'm like, this is maybe the best display of how much Loki has grown, is watching him successfully maneuver, having to watch his friends screw up for 1 million times.
And die over and over and over and over.
And still be nice to them and still love them.
Right. I would love to see a scene of him then talking to Doctor Strange, and he them being like, I did it like 10 million times, and then Doctor Strange was like, I did 14 million, right?
Yeah.
So good stuff. I enjoy this. Nothing but good things to say all around. Is there anything else we missed that you wanted to touch on? I'm glad that we got a little bit more of what was his name? X5. I think we got a little bit more of him in there too. Yeah.
We see him around. There is still a lot more that could be explored. Like I said, this might be the end of Loki, but I would like to have a TVA series in the future, or get to encounter these characters again in another story. Like, there's more you could do with the TVA, with Ravonna Renslayer, with whatever the heck Miss Minutes is.
Yeah.
She's got big bad potential, Miss Minutes.
Absolutely. Especially with Avengers Infinity War and all the time
Secret War
travel shenanigans that they did in that stuff, right? Like, what did the TVA think about all of that? Who knows? What did they think of? There was one moment I was wondering if they were gonna discover or create the device that holds the time stone that Doctor Strange had, of who is Agamotto? Did we ever figure that stuff out through I don't know. Is Agamotto a Kang variant here, and he discovered time travel, or made some that device that opens up, that holds the stone there? But no, that didn't happen. But yeah, I would love to see them in some form or fashion, them to show up when time travel shenanigans are happening, just in other shows or movies.
Could be Deadpool 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. There's plenty more MCU coming down the road, but I think that wraps us up for our reaction to Loki Season 2, 14 years of Loki in the MCU. Wild stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said at the start, don't miss our spoiler cast for the Marvels, which we will be recording right after this. So yeah, be on the lookout for all of that. But Melissa, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
I have a letterbox at Wilkywit, WILKYWIT.
Perfect. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on most of the social media places. If you'd like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on most of the social medias places. So yeah, please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. For watching this on YouTube, go check out some more of our videos right over there. That would help us out as well. And yeah, this has been number 132 of the Whatnauts Reactor Core. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.